Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, let's hear. Should we start the music first? There we go. So, over the weekend, Donald Trump attacked Iran nuclear facilities, primarily the nuclear enrichment facilities. And so, yeah, we're here to see how the market reacts on the open here on Sunday. I shouldn't laugh. This is serious shit. Okay. This may be some of the craziest action you will ever see. Now, this morning, Iranian parliament also voted to close the Strait of Hormuz. This is, now, the Iranian parliament doesn't really have any, like, power, so that doesn't mean that it's actually happening, but it does increase the chances of it happening. And if Iran tried to close the Strait of Hormuz, well, I don't think that it would go very well for them, but it could still cause significant disruptions and significant disruptions to oil markets. So, yes, okay, so let's hear, J-Dub. Are the markets even going to open on Sunday? Yes, they are. They are going to open in 20 minutes. So let me explain to you how this works here with the CME futures. They are allowed to place liquidity before the open. So if you can see here on ZN, and I'm not quite sure why I'm not getting them on the other ones yet, but on ZN, somebody has already started to place liquidity. So it looks like, well, they're putting liquidity at essentially where it started at. Probably when the markets open up here in about 22 minutes, they're just gonna shoot up. Now, for the treasuries, I really don't know what direction those are going to go. Oil, it's probably higher. Higher oil means more inflation into other instruments, but it's also higher political tension, so, and treasuries tend to be a flight to safety. So you're going to see competing flows in ZN, and I really don't know how to predict this. It's going to be insane. Yeah, it's going to be insane. Anybody dabble? What do you mean by dabble trade? You know what? Every time that I try and trade oil, I get screwed. So I'm really tempted. I'm kind of like, well, this would be an opportunity to hit it and watch it go make some big swings and make some money. But no, I'm going to refrain. I'm just going to watch here because it's going to be crazy. Okay, so let's see here. First thing here, I think I want to undo my my shirt cuffs because I'm a little warm. No, I'm wearing a linen shirt. It's a little warm in here. Should have had the fan going all morning to get it to cool it off. But oh well. Any levels? Well, so I would be keeping a close eye on round numbers. Okay. So people have this strange psychological bias, preference for even numbers that end in a 5 or a 0. And we have noticed this, and we have programmed all of our algorithms to have those same preferences. So those are places where you're going to see a lot of people have take profit orders, where you're going to have a lot of people have stop orders. And so if we go through kind of those major round numbers, that's when you tend to see you know, like stop runs and cray stuff. So that's what I watch. Followed closely by like previous day highs and lows. Well, I guess current day highs and lows too, but no, that's not really relevant here at this point because it hasn't opened yet. You ever tried one? I've never heard of that. Oh, look it up. Yeah. It looks like it's just a better DOM than Ninja Traders. Or Ninja Trader. Okay, so now we are getting liquidity on the other instruments. I'm not seeing it on oil yet, though. It is 9, right? 0928. No, it's 08. But that is N, because September is M, right? Or is September Q? Q is August. N is July. Oh, yeah. June, July, MN. So it should be N. Gotcha. So I think we just chill here for a bit. It is curious to me that the liquidity in the treasuries is all being placed similar levels to where we ended. Amir, good morning. Or good afternoon. What time is it over here? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Almost good evening, in fact. It's 1:15 a.m. Well, I appreciate you showing up at such a time. I hope we get a good show for you. It is going to be a show. That's for sure. Yes, wait for the market up and on oil. Yeah, well, oil is definitely going to be the star here, isn't it? I'm gonna browse around here. The internet was abuzz. Donald Trump supporters were very, very upset. Redditors were very, very upset. Israelis were happy. Didn't see this. Donald Trump tweeted, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change. But if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" Any thoughts on watching gold? Well, so gold is probably going to have a similar reaction to the treasuries. So does look like maybe there is some bidding here in the treasuries. Make Iran great again. You know what? That would be great. I would like to, if we could have all of this done by next winter so that I can go skiing in Iran, that would sounds great. You know, throw some money directly into their economy. So my wife and kids, they have been out this week for family reunion. They're coming back tonight. And they probably didn't eat, but it'll be hard to feed them on the way back because it's Sunday and it will be pretty late. So I'm trying to decide what I should do here. I could put something in the oven before I leave. I don't want to leave that going while I'm gone. No, that's a bad idea. Bad idea. I keep forgetting about that I have these new headphones. But then, like, they just, they do look ridiculous. I don't know. I think I'm just going to look ridiculous for the next few years because I really do like the sound of these. Gives me much better feedback, I feel. Yeah. The internet is arguing whether we are at war or not. You just need to do all of your videos from profile. Yeah. I have a video about volume profile that gives you some empirically proven information about volume profiles that you might find interesting if you're interested in volume profiles. And kind of suggests that the traditional view of volume profiles is wrong. So you go watch that. I'll do a profile like you're standing sideways, like I need to be looking over here like this. And then the headphones don't look like so ridiculous. Yeah, yeah. Is that too far? I can't. I'd have to move my thing over here to see. You know what? I don't know if my profile is that great, to be honest with you. I have always felt that I look slightly better if the camera is like off to the side. That's why I don't put the camera like directly above my screen. But So can I rant for a second? This whole bombing, something that really kind of bothers me, I guess, about the online discussion following this bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities is that, like, when you look at it in retrospect, this was always going to happen. When you look at it in retrospect, I think it becomes clear that this was always going to happen. Really, if you think about it, US policy has been on this trajectory for the last, like, 30 to 50 years. Like, why do you think that we developed these bunker buster bombs in the first place? It was so that we could prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb if we needed to. And it's kind of gone back and forth, but with the Iranians negotiating, basically, there's, we will not give up enriching uranium, period. Then it was time to pull the trigger. I mean, like, come on. It's even in our movies. Have you not seen Top Gun Maverick? This is always going to happen. And then it happens and everybody's shocked. Like, can't believe this happened. Okay. Secretary Rubio, if Iran retaliates, it will be the worst mistake they've ever made. If we attack us, we have capabilities they haven't even seen before. Yeah. Where do you see that? Russia is claiming they are going to provide nukes to Iran? No, I don't think so. Do you think Iran will close the Strait of Hormuz? I think there's a strong possibility that they will, yes. Or rather, I think there is a strong possibility that they will try. So, if they try, it's probably not going to go very well for them. The United States has 3 carrier groups in the region, and it would just completely embarrass the Iranian Navy. Iran could dump some mines in the waters, but the United States has a vessel in that area specifically for dealing with that. So they already closed it. I do not believe that is the case. They voted to close it, but the body that voted doesn't really have any power. So it has not happened yet. So this is where it kind of gets interesting for the purposes of us trading, because, again, I don't think that it would go very well for Iran, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't be disruptive to oil markets in the meantime, you know? So you say it's on Market Watch? Hey, Paul. No, you're not late. We got 3 minutes. Yeah, Security Council has not made a decision, yes. So the Iranian parliament has made a decision, but their Security Council has to agree to that decision, apparently. Okay, so while we've been watching them place the liquidity here and sort things out, we have seen the bids rising. Granted, it's kind of low liquidity all the way through this area, but it's looking very likely that the treasuries at least will open up early. Or will open up higher, rather. Open up early. Good. Now, I'm not getting any data for SPOOs or oil yet. Trump must be so sad right now he wanted to lower the dollar. Yeah. These things are definitely not positives for Donald Trump's economic policy. Even if it's not like, you know, the end of the world, per se. Hopefully it's not the end of the world. Uzi, welcome. Don't forget the SPR isn't what it used to be. Well, I think that in this particular situation, that the United States has enough domestic production that that's probably not a huge deal. That doesn't mean that oil can't go to like $100 or something, you know, like really, really high. Oh, Kyle notices the headset right away, huh? So I ordered this headset like 2 months ago because I thought that it was going to be there in like a few weeks, and it only recently came. I've had it for a week. For some reason, I'm fiddling around with it a bunch today. I made the headband a little bit tighter. Okay, so they did open up higher, but now they're selling it in the treasuries. I'm still not seeing oil data, though. Maybe it's because I'm using these MES ones. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm using the cross instrument. No. Okay, but while I'm not seeing it on the DOM, I am seeing it on my chart. And oil has opened up to 78 from 74, so up $4, and the S&P 500 is at about 5,900 at the moment. Ah, man, this is frustrating. Wait, shouldn't this one be ESU? There we go. So that's why we weren't seeing the E-mini. Oh, and maybe this one is supposed to be M. CLM. Yeah. Oops. No, maybe not. Dollar didn't jump that much. 25 cents is a big move for the dollar, but nothing insane. I gotta say though, $4 in oil is a lot. Oh, I know why. This is supposed to be CLQ. There we go. Ah. Seems like the dollar considers Iran future response a nothing burger? Well, that's where it kind of gets interesting, isn't it? I think I liked the headband where I had it before. So what was I saying about them? Oh yeah, I ordered them. They were not cheap. I waited like 2 or 3 months to get them, and then I got them. I've had them for a week, and I really, really like them, but I really don't think that it fits my use case very well. Like, for streaming, I just don't think that they really make sense for streaming. They're just so freaking huge, you know? So big. I don't know if these headphones really make sense for streaming. So maybe I should return them and switch over to the Sonys. I don't know. I'm really torn, to be honest with you. Because I did use them to great effect mixing. But like, that just means, hey, get a different pair for streaming and then save up and get open back headphones. They're made for... Not really. Like, so one of the things that always bothers me is like when your ears touch the inside of the headphone. And these are like right there on the edge. But what it is the driver is just enormous. And then they have these bumps, all this extra room for, because they're closed backs. Because the non-closed back ones only go out to here. But even those are huge. Like, because that's the whole design of the headband, right? Where you have this headband to hold the cups, and then you have this leather headband to actually hold it on your head. It's a little bit more comfortable and molds to your head. So it's really is a function of they're just massive headphones. What they're designed for is for recording in the studio. It's for like I'm recording singing or something and I'm here for a long time, but I don't like the way that the music sounds in the headphone. Or like all of the singers that come in, they're like, oh, the song doesn't sound the way that I had it. So you want a nicer headphone, but it still has to be closed back so that you don't get bleed through into the microphone. That is what it's designed for. And I'm using it for streaming and mixing. So it does those two jobs really well. But okay, CL is at 7690 right now. Does that job well, but it's not really very well suited to it either. So for streaming, it's not very well suited to it because, well, I don't need it to sound that great when I'm streaming. And they're just super huge and heavy. And for mixing, well, you're better with an open back headphone for mixing. So it'd probably be better to have two sets of headphones. One for mixing and one for streaming, right? This is the Sony. I think it's the MDR M1. Yeah. I think it would make sense for me to switch to these. Let's see here. What is Oh, I didn't even say what these are. These are Addies. Addies LCD S20. So, like, here's the thing that I think is funny if you look at their marketing materials. Okay. From the side. He's now wearing them. From the side, from the side. Kind of from the side. Like, they never show somebody like this because I think he looks silly. I think he looks so silly with it. They are heavy, but it's not really bothering me. I always forget about it. Well, the treasuries, they had the bump and they came back to where they were. Yeah, I think these Sonys are good. Or look good. These are relatively new Sonys, and those look good. I think they would probably be a better, cheaper replacement. And these are really light. I think I have... Where's my notes? Yeah. See, these are 500 and 550 grams. And the MDR M1s are half that, 216. Now these ones, the Rolands, these were actually great. I loved these. But the headband was too big. Didn't fit my head. Yeah, 216 grams is really light. Could also go to these focals, but then you're going up in price. So this is probably This is probably the one to go for. Sefer, what's up, G? You're just you're talking like you know me, and I don't recognize that name. So you just say that to everybody, I guess. You ever get people, they call you boss? It used to bother me so much, but now I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Call me boss, that's fine. Of course, boss. So here's what I can do. I can purchase the Sonys, try them both out, decide which I like better, return the other one. So I think that what's happening here, well, let's see if oil goes all the way back. I think that at the moment, the market is playing the, you know, buy the rumor, sell the news sort of a thing. Like the event happened, they don't seem to think that that Iran's response is going to be all that huge. Apparently, that would work out. Honestly, yeah. Question is, where should I buy the Sonys from? Can we get them from Amazon? Costco. B&H is screwed up. Okay, they've got them for 223. Amazon's got them for 223. Interesting claim from a prop firm that claims one of their traders made 9 figures with one. Yeah, but well, from that perspective, if we're going to go into that one, how do we know that it was actually the volume profile that made him money? Maybe it was other things that he knew about the market and he wasn't really consciously aware of. Maybe he was just lucky. All I can say is that the underlying theory behind market volume profile, the auction market theory, is incorrect. It's pretty much demonstrably false at this point. Wait a month. Well, but we can have these for 30 days, right? And I've had them for a week. So, I don't know. Reminds me, I have a shirt that I need to return that came in at the wrong size. Used it with an elaborate fundamental approach. Well, there you go. Making 9 figures with a prop firm is pretty amazing, though. Like, you have to get lucky to do that. You have to be lucky to some extent to do that. Well, so let me explain what the deal is. So the general theory with market profile is that market will oscillate around a fair value price until there is some sort of a change in information or somebody just wants to test it. And so they will push it up in what they call range extension. And if the market accepts that new range extension, then the price will continue going up until everybody that wants to buy has already bought. And that's incorrect. What we find actually is that the reason that the market will tend to oscillate around these prices for a long time is because of market liquidity and certain aberrations in the market liquidity that I call liquidity zones. And so it's not a reflection of fair value whatsoever. And why do we have like these range extension moves? Is it because there's been a real change in the fundamentals that changes the value, you know, the intrinsic value of the asset? No, it's just that a large player wants to come in and buy or sell. And when they do that, it moves the asset. So that's why I say volume profile, or rather auction market theory, is false. It was a good theory based on real observations, but we have more information, and that information suggests that that theory is inaccurate. And if you're going in and you're trying to make some determination about the fundamental value based on where the volume profile was, I think that you're going to make a lot of bad analysis. And more specifically, the volume point of control tends to just be where that asset closed that day. So a lot of now I'll see a lot of people that really care where the point of control is. And well, you could just use the closing price. They're the same like 80% of the time. Market tends to move towards liquidity. Well, I wouldn't say that the market tends to move towards liquidity. That's another misnomer that I see out there. So if you're looking at the DOM and you see a really large price up there somewhere, some people have this idea that if there's a really big price, it will move towards that price. But then other kind of things would say we would move away from that price because it'd be too hard to get through it, and it moves away from it. But what I find is that it moves in regimes, that it will go like, it will move towards it like every time for a week, and then it will move away from it every time for a week. So it changes. This is not a reliable indication. Although there is a possibility that you could take that and a bunch of other things and game out which regime it's in. Yeah. And other times, yeah, they're scared to bring it higher because the seller strength will be huge. And other times it goes right through. Yeah. Because I'll tell you why. Here's why all of these sorts of things end up being unreliable. The thing that determines how far it's going to go is how many contracts there are to buy. Somebody is going to come in and buy like 60,000 contracts or something like that, like it's going to move it. So here's something that's really interesting that I don't really talk about, but somebody highlighted it to me and I was like, oh yeah, that is true. That I have seen the research that says that. So the impact of a large order follows the square root law. We've been here before. We talk about this all the time, right? Tends to follow. Where's my pen here? Bring it down here. Tends to follow a square root law. So that means that the f of q, or actually not f of q, we do impact of an order of size q is equal to scalar unique to the instrument times the volatility of the instrument times the square root of Q, the size of the order, over V, the volume executed over the period. And this is the square root law. And if you graph it, it looks like this. Okay. So it is square root law with respect to the order flow size. So this is I and this is Q on this graph here, right? Okay, well, if you are looking at order flow imbalance, that is like the total change in cumulative delta, for instance, it is linear. It is linear. So what this kind of suggests is that as a move goes along, the further that a move has been going, like more people get involved. Isn't that kind of interesting? Yeah. So this is why all of these kind of heuristics that people try to use based on charts end up being ineffective, because the size of the order that somebody is going to place in there has absolutely nothing to do with where somebody else is placing a big order or what it did 5 minutes ago or any of these other kinds of things that we as retail traders try and look at. So really, if it's the big order that moves the market, then the only way that you're going to make an effective prediction in the short term is if you can predict those large meta orders, which means either knowing a piece of information before everybody else does that's going to cause these large players to move, or understanding enough about those large players and the strategies that they use to beat them to the punch, you know, knowing that it's the end of the month that they're going to rebalance and it's going to tend to cause them to buy, and so you buy it before them. But these other things, especially on short time frames, are going to be not very predictive. Now, when you get into that point, then you kind of go, well, but then why does everybody think that? Well, I can explain that too. See, what happened was in the 80s, there was a bunch of guys, most prominently the turtle traders, that all made tons and tons of money, especially in trading futures, using a strategy that we call momentum. And what happened was these guys made a ton of money, and then people like Jack Swagger wrote books about them. And so everybody read those books and said, oh, okay, this is trading, and I'm going to try and apply it to what I'm doing. But the problem is that those order flow traders, those turtle traders, did not completely explain what they were doing, the full strategy. They weren't going to give the whole gig up. There were things about it that they kind of kept themselves. And so what we ended up doing as retail traders and reading these books is we created a cargo cult. Are you familiar with the cargo cults? These are places where, like, the United States had military bases on all of these islands in the Pacific, and people in the local area, they would see that the soldiers would regularly get shipments in. You know, they would do airdrops and packages would come and drop. And so when the military left, all of the natives on the island thought, oh, well, the reason the packages stopped coming is because those soldiers left and they weren't doing the rituals anymore. So they all come in and they build these radar stations out of straw and all of these things and march around the island in the hopes that it will get packages to land. And I think I've even heard people say that every once in a while the military will send them a package just to kind of keep the thing going because it's beneficial to them. I don't know. Maybe they do. But the point is, what did they not understand? They did not understand that the packages were coming there because we have all of this technology to say, hey, we need a support package here because there was a military and there was a war, right? They didn't understand fundamentally what was going on. And that is essentially the same thing with momentum strategies. So we, as retail traders, did not understand what was fundamentally going on that make these strategies work. So how do these strategies actually do work then? How do they work? Well, what happens is you look for a signal that is like that is kind of the beginning of a trend, right? Like if we're going up and down like this, then every time that it changes here, I'm going to get in and do something, right? And because the market has a tendency, or rather these assets have a tendency to trend over very, very long periods of time, you can get one where if you catch it, it can go on for months and months and months and months. And the amount that you will make on this one winner can be like 100 times the amount that you will lose on these ones, right? And so the math works out. You can lose on these like 100 times as long as you just catch one of these. So this right here, it's not predictive. It's not saying there is a good chance that it's going to turn around and go higher here. No. Quite the contrary. Most of the time that doesn't happen. So it is a low probability trade. It's not predictive at all. It's the opposite. But when you're right, you make so much that it makes up for that. Okay, so with that in mind, you kind of have to realize that not every asset is trending. Some assets can stay in ranges for years and years and years, and you're never going to make anything from it, right? So the whole idea of looking at a chart and looking at moving averages and looking at these other technical indicators to try and determine what an individual asset is going to do in the next month, let alone like the next 5 minutes. That's where it's really crazy, because intraday prices are very, very random, okay? It's a complete misunderstanding of the math. What you have to do is you have to apply it over a whole universe of assets. You say like, here are all of the different types of futures out here, and I'm going to take a subset of those. I'm going to take this subset because like some assets are correlated. Like I don't necessarily need to trade both gold and treasuries. They both did the same thing. You can come over here and you can look, see the treasuries. Treasuries did a little move up. Here, oil, a little move up, right? Pretty correlated. So in this move, does it really make sense for me to be in both gold and treasuries? Shouldn't I just figure out which one is going to be more heavily affected by this and just be in that one? Right? Or if I'm going to be in both, maybe I take half of the risk that I normally would. Right? Yeah, your risk exposure is too much that way. Yeah, so you take a smaller position in each one of them so that your risk exposure is smaller. Yeah. And so the real secret that the turtle traders had that they never tell you about is that they were given a universe of assets and rules about how to manage those things, like not taking the position in both of them. So that's why you'll always hear them say that the real edge is risk management, because for momentum strategies, it's true. That's where the innovations in momentum strategies have come from, is being able to like analyze the whole portfolio and do this multi-asset cross-correlation matrix with machine learning to optimize which ones you should be in. And that's where retail traders, where we get all of these ideas from. So there you go. That's trading for you. Don Bricks, welcome. So I think I want to chill for another at least 30 minutes here. Because, actually, although I do want to turn on the oven. Because I want to see if oil comes all the way back down or not. So let me go and start the oven, start dinner here, and I will be right back. That whole time, I was muted, wasn't I? Yeah. So I keep thinking about the headphones. And every time I see them on my desk, I'm like, those are sick headphones. Like, those just look amazing. And I want to put them on. I want to listen to stuff with them. And then I look at myself in the camera and I'm like, these are not the right call. Thoughts on ES open tomorrow given the Iran news? Well, I think that the narrative the market is going with right now is that that's like the worst it's going to get. United States attacked some of their enrichment facilities. Iran had already moved most of their stuff out, so I don't know if it really makes a huge difference in the long run, but Iran wasn't that close to having enough nuclear material for a bomb anyways. And tomorrow, everything will be hunky-dory and things kind of like cool down, and this is the peak. But the problem with that is that there's a really high probability there's more shoes to drop, like Iran trying to close the Strait of Hormuz, or there being attacks on U.S. military bases, or Americans die that causes things to escalate further. It wouldn't be a very smart thing for Iran to do, but it wasn't a very smart thing to insist on enriching uranium in the first place. So they might do that. So yes, I think that probably the play, I mean, I don't know if it's a very good play, right? I think the play is buy the rumor, sell the news, and hope that something bad doesn't happen while you're in the position. I mean, that's been the play here so far, and oil has been coming back pretty good. So many notifications on my phone. So, you know, something that happened was I think that my phone, like with the magnet on it, got like stuck to my bag and like erased my cards, because my regular card that I normally use like doesn't work at all. So I like had to put it on my phone. So I can only do transactions on my phone right now. And every time that I do, it pops up a notification. I hate it. And like, I won't see it right away, so it'll just be sitting there. And then when you pull the thing down, there's like 20 things. You're like, what the hell? It's not, the notification drawer isn't useful if everything sends a notification. I wanted to check out B&H, but their website's having issues. Where is the skiing in Iran? Apparently they do have, I asked ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT says that they do have ski resorts there, so Persian skiing is a thing. Can you believe it? I forget, there was one that was particularly, oh wow, I can get it tomorrow. All right. We'll get the other one in. We'll see how it sounds and make the choice. But I think I might return these, even though they were really, really good for mixing. But I'll just get really, really good open. I'll get like, I get the really, really nice ones. I can get like the. Get like the LCDX. Or maybe they'll have a newer headphone coming out by the time I'm ready to do that. $1,100. No, that's not the auto. Biggest ski resort in Iran. Dizin. Let's see if we can find it on a map. I really, I think it's so I don't know what my deal is, but every time that some sort of awful thing is happening in the world, I want to go to that place. It's like, hey, we should go vacation there. You know? It looks like the market has digested the worst of the nuclear site fears. With that risk now priced in, a new run to all-time highs would cement the market's strength. Well, so first of all, let's just remember that markets don't quote-unquote price things in. They try to. But the price that you get is a factor of how many people traded it. I think one of the risks that we run in this situation is thinking that because it came back so quickly and that the jump wasn't that much, that the market thinks it's not a big deal. Because it could be that it's a really, really big deal, but everybody's too afraid to trade it. And I think that might be the case in this instance. Like any trade that you take, there's like huge risks to that trade blowing up. So maybe it's better to just not do anything and try and stay along, you know? So I really think that's kind of the situation that we're in right now. If we kind of do like a larger analysis of things here, the S&P 500 has been going sideways for quite some time, you know? So they could definitely have a jump up here. I think though, oh, sorry, that's the Treasury. Here's the S&P 500. S&P 500 has kind of been like, I mean, it's still up there, but it's pretty sideways. Or maybe we should look at it from like a daily perspective, right? Okay. Coming short. I suppose if this turned into something more and we did one of these things, then everybody would really be freaking out, right? I always wait. I tell you what, this is what I've always seen for some reason in the S&P 500 is that there's going to be this line right here, right? From a technical so I always look at it like, what is the traditional technical analysis pattern that people look for? And wait for that pattern to like do what it's supposed to. So either take the trade on it doing the pattern, or wait for the confirmation signal and everybody to flip out and then reverse that signal. So the trade would either be to go short now in the hopes that it comes down and does its head and shoulders, or wait for the head and shoulders, wait for it to break the new low. People go like, oh no, this is like that's a really bad technical sign for the market. Or maybe it's this one. Now it's lower. This is really bad. Like that's exactly when like the plunge protection team steps in and I'm like, badoosh, right? But the treasuries, on the other hand, now you can kind of see where the treasuries are at. I really think that these want to go higher. I think that it will eventually kind of be like a slow trend up. It'll be hard for them to get above this, though, from last year. So that's kind of where we're at with the treasuries. But if they do that without the S&P 500 falling apart, then that would be really, really good for the economy, because high interest rates are really, really holding back major parts of the economy. So yeah, that's the way that I look at it. You got to remember that the market tries to price things in, but it can't. It's really a function of how many people trade it and the orders that put into it. So we want to track what the market did separately from the orders that were put into the market, separately from the fundamental story, you know? Where's CL currently? So this instrument right over here, this is oil. So they are right now at 75.67. So still about $1.50 higher than where they closed last week, but not anywhere close to the high here at 78. Oops, I forgot to go and put the food. It's almost certainly heated up now, right? I'll be right back. Is there anything at 75.52? Not really anything too unusual. 74.94, I don't think that I have it going down that far at the moment, so. Here's the ski resort. Tehran is not a huge place. I think that's actually probably similar in size to Salt Lake. Let's see here. Could be like really, really wrong. Oh, okay. No, it's much bigger. Their metro area is 9 million. It's significantly larger. But here's the ski resort. Hopping a skip away from the the Caspian Sea. Wait, isn't the Caspian Sea the one that dried up? Nah, that's one of these over here. this thing right here. Can you believe a lake that big just dried up? That's so flipping crazy. Anyways, how'd you get into trading? The 2008 financial crisis is what did it to me. You know what? So I, like many neurodivergent young people, got super interested in politics, and I was all into the politics of everything. And when the 2008 crisis happened, yes, the RLC, that's right. When the 2008 crisis happened, I immediately knew from the information that I was getting from the politicos that it was a huge deal. So I started trading. I was like, I need to know more about this. I start trading. And when I started trading, I very quickly realized that what was going on in the financial market mattered a lot more than what was going on in politics. So it was kind of a natural evolution, I think. It's just, I think that's kind of the natural evolution for most people, is like you think that it's all about this, and then as you get deeper into that, you realize that like there's really this much larger system of things that nobody really has control over, and it just churns and chews you up and spits you out. Well, I'm gonna give it 10 more minutes. The oil is definitely headed on the way down. I think that before the trading day is over, so we give it tomorrow, I bet you that they probably will come all the way back to 74. That is, unless Iran actually like does something in the Strait of Hormuz, which again I think would be like a really, really bad idea. But at this point, Iran would do what it can, though. Well, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, honestly. I don't know how it'll affect their exports to China, yeah. Well, if anybody would be prepared to deal with a global oil shortage, it's probably China. But, yeah, they get like 90% of their oil. They get a lot of their oil from Iran, let's just say. Yeah, so like do what it can, really. You know what it could do? You know what it could do? Is it could stop enriching uranium. I just like, I don't get it. It's just like so easy. Just don't enrich in uranium. Like if you really want nuclear power, because come on, like they say that they just want it for nuclear power. Give me a freaking break. You have like infinite oil there. Okay, whatever. Make a thorium reactor. The Chinese, they got thorium. They've got a good relationship with China. They could do that. Just stop enriching uranium into weapons grade uranium. It's that simple. They could do that, and then everything could be fun and happy. Like that's what gets me, is that it's just like this one little thing that like they believe that they have to get this thing. And if they would just, it's like, have you ever heard the story about the monkey that like in the jungle, the way they catch a monkey is they get a big walnut, because the monkey loves the nuts, and they put it in a little box with a little hole that's just big enough for the monkey to put their hand into, but not big enough for the monkey to pull their hand out while it's in a fist. And once it's in a fist, the monkey, once they've got that nut, they just don't want to let go of it, right? To the point that the monkey hunter can just walk right up to the monkey and grab it, because it won't let go of the nut. And that's what's going on. Is they got this nut, it's nuclear, it's enriched uranium, and they just won't let, and all they gotta do is let go. They could continue living in paradise and they don't want to do it. It's just so crazy to me. The era of asking permission from the US. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, well, Russia has had nuclear weapons for a really, really long time. Okay, but like, yeah, I think that for Iran to have a nuclear missile, they have to ask permission, and the United States ain't gonna give it to them. What are you gonna do about it? You know? So this gets me back into this thing that I was ranting about the other day, right? Which is that, like, as traders, we really do have to separate ourselves from, like, what we want to happen from what is likely to happen, right? And sometimes we will impose these kinds of moral rules on the world. We think, well, if I'm allowed to have nuclear weapons, then shouldn't everybody be allowed to have nuclear weapons? That would be the fair thing, right? No, you're applying rules and codes of morals that you apply to individuals in a developed society that's all very highly controlled and police and all of these safeguards and everything, and you're trying to apply it to the Wild West of the global world order where might is right. The United States doesn't want Iran to have nuclear missiles, and they have the ability to prevent them from getting them. Then guess what? Iran can't have nuclear missiles, or sorry, can't have nuclear bombs. And at this point, you really have to ask, why do you want it so bad? That you're really willing to, like, risk your whole country from collapsing for it? It's just wild when you start to think about it in that kind of context. So yeah, but going back to the thing that, like, Iran can do what they can do, but what would they do? Like, I don't really feel like that Iran really has any kind of leverage here. Like, the thing that I think is so crazy about it is that the only leverage that Iran has is they're enriching nuclear weapons, they're enriching uranium, and they could stop and dismantle that program. And the West would pay them quite handsomely for it. The West would pay them quite handsomely to just dismantle their uranium enrichment. So why won't they do it? It's just it just makes my head hurt thinking about it. So it's like, guys, Iran, dude, Persia is a great place. It sounds like it's up in the mountains. Like it sounds like where I live. I would like to go and check it out and see what they're doing over there that maybe I can come and apply to where I live, you know? Maybe they have certain clothes and things like that makes it easier to deal with the extreme climate. We could be skiing in Tehran and having a party. And all you gotta do is just stop enriching uranium. They don't want to do it. I guess, partying with Seth is probably not a strong enough incentive to dismantle your nuclear program, is it? That's unfortunate. How many has spent any amount of time in the Middle East? I've never been in the Middle East. That's true. I think the Iranian citizens want to be free. Yeah, no, that's totally true, Jonathan. They wanted to be free. They had a Democrat government. The West basically kind of like screwed that up because it was like going to affect. They didn't want to sell the oil to Britain. They wanted to start using it to make the people of Iran more prosperous. So like, oh, no, we can't allow that to happen. So then we installed the Shah, and then the Shah lost power to the mullahs. And that's what got us into the... And if we had just left them alone, probably everything would be fine. So it is very unfortunate. But that does kind of, I think, play a big part into, like, what are Iran's choices, right? Because, like, the reality is they just don't have very many cards to play. Like, one of the best cards that they have to play is closing the Hormuz Strait. That's probably like the craziest thing they could do that would like really upset markets, and people would be like, no, don't do that. Well, what do you want us to do? Like, let's talk, right? But that's not actually that big of a chip, because if they did something, that would probably like be the end of Iran. That would probably be like the one mistake that really led to Iran collapsing, is trying to start a war in the Hormuz Strait, And the Shah, or sorry, the regime that's in place in Iran does not really have the full support of its people. So that's another issue that's kind of like a problem. Will you be okay if Russia started to kill American scientists and families in their home? Well, if it was because we were, of all of the sudden, Russia was... I mean, I don't think that it really kind of makes sense, right? Okay, if the United States was pursuing a program to obtain some sort of new super weapon that could completely destroy the world, that only the United States would have, and Russia says, we're going to stop that program from happening, well, I would be upset about it, sure. But again, you're trying to apply morals and ways of thinking that apply to people and small conflicts, like interpersonal conflicts, or, between this city and that city, that don't really work on the world stage. Like, okay, if Russia started to kill American scientists and their families in their homes, then what would happen is the United States would go and put an end to Russia. Like... There is no moral system that works on the world stage, but there is a system, and it's I do what I can. If the United States has the power and ability to prevent a country from obtaining a nuclear missile, and they want to do that, then they're going to do that. And what are you going to do to stop them? Shame on you. You shouldn't be doing this. No, that's not going to do anything. I think a new revolution could cause a huge power vacuum. Yeah. Why so many DOMs? So I mostly just watch right here. Okay. But I place my trades over here, so that's why I have this one. These two I could probably get rid of. There's just like nothing's happening on these ones, and I keep watching them in the hopes that someday that'll change, but they're not. And then this is oil right here. And this is ES. So, theirs are kind of correlated. So that's why, is to just be able to see everything all at once and see what kind of correlations are happening and so forth. What do you think about this administration? Well, I don't know if so I would say that the way that the tariff thing has gone down has probably been about the worst rollout that they possibly could have done. But it's been okay so far. So here's the other thing, is that everybody's going on about, making a big deal about Donald Trump being the one that attacked Iran and everything. Some of them are like, well, he just really wants an excuse to use bunker busters or even a nuclear bomb, which there is kind of an argument to be had that you really cannot completely destroy their nuclear program without maybe using a nuke. But I think that this was always going to happen. It's kind of funny to think about, remember when Donald Trump said, well, we're going to wait 2 weeks and see what happens? I think when that happened, that was like immediately a ruse. We should have seen right away that it was like, okay, actually they are going to do it this weekend, right? Come on, man. We have a whole... Have you guys not seen Top Gun? The whole movie is about flying an airplane through a canyon so that they can drop a bomb into a tiny hole that will destroy Iran's nuclear program. Except for they don't call it Iran, it's some unnamed country. Okay? They made a whole movie about it. And then what happened? What happened? Israel went and destroyed all of the air defense that country had so that we don't even have to fly through a canyon to do it. And you're telling me that we're like surprised that it happened? Nah, this was always going to happen, guys. It was just kind of a question of when. Happened during the Trump administration. And what happened? He did exactly what 50 years of preparation and the military-industrial complex kind of preparing everything to go in line. He did exactly what it was supposed to do. We're surprised. We're supposed to be surprised about that. Do you have a defined strategy or system, or do you react to MoMA? So I am primarily trying to take advantage of informational inefficiency and news and interpreting the order flow within the context of that. So my strategy is going to change every day, but the basic gist of it is I'm going to take all the information that I have that could potentially predict future orders, add all of those together to see if there's a net imbalance. And if I see a net imbalance, then I want to get a trade with an optimal location based on things that I'm seeing in the depth of market. How did America become Israel's? You know what? Well, like again, we've been preparing for this for like 50 years. And I wouldn't even really say that it was Israel's fault. Like really, if there's anybody at fault, it was Iran when they said there's nothing you can say that will make us give up our nuclear program. Okay. What's your average hold time? So I want to hold it as long as I can, but I'm only here for I really haven't taken a trade in like the 3 months that I've been at this new job. I have to leave earlier than I used to, so I haven't really been trading very actively. But when I would try and hold it like 2, 3, 4 hours, as long as I could. Yes, they are the LCD S20s. See, when people say that, immediately or say something about the headphones when they come in, I'm immediately thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So now that I've had them on for a while, I've kind of forgotten about them. I really, as heavy as they are, they have distributed the weight as well as you possibly could. As well as you really possibly could. I think I look silly with them on. I just think they look silly. Well, I think that they sound great. Part of the thing I liked about them or that drove me to them was because people always say that the LCD-X has like amazing bass. That if you like bass music, that those are the best headphones to have. And these have a very, very clean, tight bass. But it is not really prominent. So if you really, really want to hear loud, like listen to music, probably you're going to want to put EQ on them. You have the MM500s and they're great for mixing, but they're open back. Well, I don't know if that necessarily makes them bad for everything else, but I guess the whole thing is I've kind of starting to realize that if you want closed back headphones or live streaming or gaming, probably, well, first of all, I think you could probably get away with open back headphones for gaming. Just don't talk on the mic. I don't know. But I think maybe it makes more sense to have a pair of open back headphones and a separate pair of cheaper closed back headphones. You know? You think the actions will accelerate or stop Iran's program? 100% will not stop. Yeah, but you need a quiet room. Not sure what you mean by that one, but I am kind of thinking. But so here's the thing. Here's the thing with these is for open back headphones you need a quiet room. Oh, because then you'll hear other stuff. Yes. Yes. These block out other sound really, really well. Yes. Yes, they do. So the thing is when I was listening to them, and I listened to some tracks and I was like, oh, okay. And one thing is I have a Focusrite Gen 2, which really isn't beefy enough to drive these. So I plugged them into my Tractor Control S4 and played music on that, and that was a bit more beefy. Then it sounded more like what I expected it to sound. But on the tracks with with certain bass, I really don't get that. It doesn't hit that like trigger point where you can really like, oh yeah, right? It just doesn't hit quite like that. So it's really not for like listening. It is for mixing. And for mixing, they were amazing. They were amazing. Like I went in and loaded up some of my tracks and listened with them. And I immediately noticed some things about the tracks that was like, oh, well, I've always felt like that there was too busy here and there was a problem here, but now I can hear almost exactly where the problem is and what I need to turn down or where I need to put in EQ and whatever. So I went into like 3 of my tracks and went and made some mixing changes to them that I think really improved them immediately from the headphones. Yeah, the sound stage on it. Yeah, so the sound stage is just amazing. It's just like elements get separated so much somehow that it makes it a lot easier to mix with them for some reason. And I was able to pick out some issues with the headphones that I couldn't with the studio monitors. I still think that the studio monitors are obviously better. I wouldn't want to mix with just headphones. But like having the two is super, super powerful. Right? Have you tried the Barry Dynamics DT770 Pros? Not the high-ohm version, no. So kind of part of what got me started on this journey was I said, I really want something that is beefier. I want something that can really, because I'm tired of buying new ones every year or two. So I was looking at the DT1770s, but I got the DT177X from Drop. So they're a little bit that you don't have to have that. They're not the high ohm, essentially. And those hurt my head. Like after wearing it for a while, it would just, the headband would dig into my head so much. It was a problem and it would give me a headache. So I gave up on those. I tried a DJ headphone. What was the DJ headphone? The III? Like AI. They had ones, and they were okay, but their big selling point was that they were wireless. But it wasn't wireless enough that I could use the monitoring. It just didn't work. And they were too close to the ear. They touched my ear, and it was brushing on my ear, and that made my ear hurt. So I gave up on those. And then I tried the new Rolands. The new Rolands I thought sounded amazing. And they looked amazing, but the headband is too big. So they were always like too low on my ears and pushing my ears down. And now I've tried these. And with these, I really think that these are about the best closed bag studio headphones you can get. Really. But the downside is they look a little ridiculous. And I don't know if that should bother me or not. Maybe I'll keep these and use the Sonys. No. I should send these back and get open back headphones. That's what I should do. I should use the Sonys for during streaming, and then when I do want to mix, I should just get a pair of open back of these, so that I still have the amazing sound stage, but even better bass because they're open back. And you know, that would be fine because when I want to use headphones in here, it's either because it's something that I think I'll be able to tell with headphones better, or I don't want to wake up the kids upstairs. They won't hear it with an open back headphones. I think that'd be fine. Myers will give you that cross feed that's really helpful for mixing in terms of translation to other speakers, which is why open backs get you further when mixing on them. Ah, there you go. Yeah, I think there's just too many limitations with closed backs. And like really that's kind of like the killer. It's like, why do you get closed backs? It's either one, you don't want other people around you to hear you. In which case, like, you're not going to use these at like the work because they're just too big and crazy, right? So really it's so that the noise doesn't bleed back into the microphone, right? And the issue is when you're doing that, if you're primarily just monitoring yourself, you don't need super expensive headphones for that. So that's kind of the problem with these, is that the use case is too niche. The use case is too niche. I think that the people that are going to buy these are going to be professional recording studios. And I don't think that you're going to see as many average consumers. What are you mixing? I do like trance. Mostly trance music, bass music. It makes me want to load up a track and listen to it. I think I need to close the stream down soon. We did see oil did bounce a little bit around 75.50, so classic or site. No, so I kind of, you know what? I really like my trance bastardized. So the thing that I hate about the trance scene is that there's this group of kids that act like if it doesn't sound like trance in 1999 that it's not real trance. Like it has to be 138 BPM and it needs to make heavy use of super saws, and then we can consider it trance. And I just despise that, because to me, what really makes electronic music to me, what I think is special about electronic music compared to other music and makes me enjoy it so much compared to other music, is the amount of variety. Like that people are always trying to push the sound, that you're going to hear something new every day. Every mix, every week that they do the mix show, I'm going to hear mostly tracks that I've never heard before. Electronic music is based a lot more on dopamine than it is serotonin, right? Serotonin is like when you're doing things, hear music that you've heard before, or you're performing, you know, tasks that you've been doing your whole life and everything, and that generates serotonin. And dopamine is kind of more novelty, things that you've never heard before. And a lot of music is kind of getting the right mix of that dopamine and serotonin. It needs to be similar enough to the music that you've already heard, but then there's got to be that one little thing that they've changed that gives you the dopamine, right? And electronic music is kind of like, no, we're just going to be all dopamine all the time. Yeah, there will be a song that you recognize, but we're going to completely remix it, right? Maximum dopamine. Yep. That's probably why my ADHD brain is attracted to it. Like, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's because it generates more dopamine. Yeah. So the problem with trance is that the community actively punishes anybody trying to innovate the genre. This is what happened. This is basically how Big Room went down. Was trance artists started making Big Room music where they basically said, oh, hey, what if we just have this kick that's just really, really, but then we can stick all sorts of little, you know, all sorts of really complicated sounds in between it, right? And it'd be great. And they did, and it was great. Like Mark Sixma Requiem is probably the quintessential track like this, right? And then what happened? Well, Armin van Buuren, he pushed it for a little bit, but the trance guys were all very, very quickly were like, nope, this isn't 138 BPM with super saws, so we can't listen to this. So all of those artists were like, okay, fine, we'll go and we'll basically make the same thing at a slightly lower BPM and just call it Big Room House. And so they did, and they had massive success over there. And this is where like W and W they kind of became house guys. Ahmet Ozcan, he became a house guy, right? It was because they basically got kicked out of the trance scene. And then ever since then, trance has just been dead. Like, it keeps going lower and lower. The sales are going lower and lower because they're not doing anything to revitalize the genre. I hate that. Above and Beyond. Oh, I really like Above and Beyond. But the problem with Above and Beyond is that they still innovate, but they went into the deep house side. They're like, okay, well, deep house is a thing, and we're going to innovate there. So they haven't really been pushing trance. But trance is getting popular. There is some hints that psytrance is kind of becoming a thing. So, was it Ahmet Ozcan? I can't remember who it was, but last week one of those guys released like a psytrance track that I thought was really good. So it is going that way. So maybe the next kind of evolution is back to a more of a psi sound, where maybe we're doing 140 BPM, but with new tweaks to the formula. That would be cool. As long as we're innovating, that's the thing. I want to hear new things. I want to innovate. Yes, that's what it was. Era, dude. The video for it is so sick. I used to DJ, and I don't DJ anymore, but I still follow this crap way more than I probably should. Yeah, it's this one. Dude. The fractals that they show in this video just get so wild. It's cool. It's a cool video, man. I'm in love with the Nora and Pure stuff. Ben Bomer. Yeah, Deep House. I'm not familiar with Nora and Pure, but Ben Bomer for sure. This one, that's crazy. It's like, it's a fractal, but it's made out of tiny little cubes, and then every individual cube also has something crazy going on it. Like, what? That is wild. How do they make? There's got to be some crazy computer program that they're using to make this stuff. It just looks so wild, man. And it just gets wilder as it goes along too. That's the other thing. Good grief. Yeah, it's a good video. It's a good video. So yeah. we're gonna do. I already clicked the button. It's funny because as I'm talking to you guys, I'm like, wow, we should just keep these. But I did order the Sonys. We'll try the Sonys. If I decide that I like the sound of the Sonys are okay for like gaming, then maybe I switch to the Sonys, return these, save up a little bit, and then get an open back headphones. Either another pair of audios or maybe focals. Sander Van Dorn. Yeah, he still puts stuff out. I haven't seen him do anything recently though. You might have to, well, but that is exactly it, Kaleidoscope. Is that I think like the issue I have is that my primary use case is wearing headphones while I'm streaming to you guys. That's the most important thing. And I'm just realizing that these aren't really that good for that use case. I mean, they work for it, but it's like I'm paying double for something that's like super heavy, and I don't actually get the real benefit from like the thing that they're actually good at. But I don't know, maybe after this stream I'll go and I'll listen to some tracks and be like, oh my gosh, it's just, I like it the way that it sounds so much, I gotta do it. You know? Gotta keep them. We'll see. And I guess I don't know. It's funny when I'll look at myself at first, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not that bad. But then the more I look, I'm like, no, actually, they do look really dorky. Okay, well, with that, it does really look like that things have cooled down. And there's a couple of other things that I think I get to do before the family comes back home. Try the Hi-Fi Man edition. Oh, I saw those. Yeah. I guess it's, so here's the other thing with these is that they're not that enjoyable for just listening to music. I actually would rather listen with my Skull Crushers, because that has like the haptic feedback with the bass, and I feel like I enjoy listening on my Skull Crushers more than I do on these. So like these are really like super optimized towards mixing. Now I would really like something that is good for mixing and listening, even if they're huge, even if they're big open back headphones and everything. Yeah, they come with a plate. Yeah. So, I don't know. But I kind of expected these to be like, you know, when a kick comes in, it really pops, and it, not unless you really turn it up, and then the other elements are too high and piercing. So it's kind of like that, right? This is always kind of the common issue with mixing headphones, is that you get an accurate response, then some of those frequencies are a little bit too piercing, and then they're not comfortable to wear for long periods of time. The MM500s are king there. Well, so that's the thing though, is that if I get two pairs of headphones, then it doesn't matter how good they look, because I'm only going to be wearing them when I'm mixing or listening at my desk. I guess the other thing is that if I really want to listen, I just turn on my studio speakers, because I have a subwoofer connected to it, and that sounds good, right? So it really is for if I want to mix and I don't want the kids to hear it because they're going to sleep or whatever. Because I've been thinking, you know, I just can't trade as much now. Just the way, get us up back. The way that things are, it's hard for me to day trade. And I don't know. It's just kind of like, okay, well, maybe let's spend some time doing some other things. Let's spend more time making the music. Let's spend more time building the cabinet and woodworking projects. Or maybe I can convince them to go hiking with me or something like that, you know? Built into the chair. Did that in my New York City apartment for all. It worked out better. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man. People would always rag on the bass crushers or the skull crushers, which is a skull candy headphone that has like haptic feedback in it. And it's gotten really good. I really like them. It's really fun to listen with them. Just programming in progress. Well, we're still programming for sure. And I do want to spend a little bit more time on the Kirk because I'm starting to realize that, like, okay, here's the part where I have to be the leader or the architect. And I think I have the skills and everything to do that, but I haven't really necessarily put a whole lot of time into doing that. So I do need to spend a little bit more time doing that stuff too. But there are a couple of little programming projects that we got to do here for the channel. I spent pretty much all afternoon yesterday working with Sierra charts and kind of working through the issues that we got there. I think I have a pretty good understanding of their API and at least how those particular things work. There's some things about it the way that I don't like, but that's the way they do it. And I think I have a plan. And now I just got to, there's a couple of little experiments I'm gonna do. Like one of the things is that they have you can like store an integer and make it so that you get that integer every time that you go into that method. But really what that is that's a way for you to store a reference to an object. So I'm gonna make my map, store it in there, and see how that works. I never liked Skull Candy, but I haven't tried them in 15 years. They get, for a consumer headphone, they're really killer right now, man. The cool thing about that Skull Crusher ANC2, first of all, it's got active noise canceling, which I find pretty good. It's not perfect, but where I work right now, it's quite loud. There's like a swamp cooler and stuff, and I put the headphones on, and it's just peace. I love it. Blocks out the noise really, really well. And then it's got the haptic feedback. But the killer feature, the feature that I think is just so sick, is that you can connect it to your PC and your phone at the same time. And so like I'll be watching a YouTube video on my PC, and then if somebody calls me on my phone, it will immediately pause what's going on my PC and switch over to my phone. That's a killer feature, man. I love it. So they're really good. Yeah, dual connect. And they're very comfortable and compact and light. And they have amazing bass. It's just like, it's got everything. So like when I'm out and about, so at work, or if I'm going to be like out there listening to music, then perfect. So really, I only need headphones for in here. And right now, what am I doing in here? Livestream. Mixing sometimes, and I don't even mix that much right now. I haven't had that time. So does it really make sense to have these if that's what I'm going to be doing with it? I kind of feel like no, but I really like them. I don't want to give them up. You know what I'm going to do? This is my immediate thought is like, okay, I'm going to get the Sonys. I'm just going to keep both, but then that doesn't make sense. I should sell these and buy an open back. But I don't know what I would get. What would be a good open back in that price range? Because then that's the other thing is that if I really want to get good open back headphones for mixing, then shouldn't I be graduating up to $1,000 ones? Or if I want something that's a little bit more consumer focused, I can get vocals. Anyways, it's funny I want to talk about headphones and not the Middle East, but whatever. So interesting, the treasuries end at 111 even. That's the most interesting thing to me about all this. We expected oil to jump, but the treasuries being right where they were. Yeah, well, that's been about the way that it's been for treasuries lately. All right, guys, I'm going to get going. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. In the meantime,